Well, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Round Table live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 p.m. GMT. We're actually waiting on some guests turning up to this one, so it will just be me for now. So I won't get into it too much, but obviously a lot of people will be aware that there is some, I'm calling it some Hollywood spin, and we'll show you. We'll go through the article and kind of talk about it. So I hope you're all right. I hope you're well. Like I said, I am waiting on some guests who are just wrapping up some calls. So you just have to deal with my big dumb face for a little bit, and then we'll deal with some other people. But hey, guys, if you didn't know, I do these live streams every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like I said, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 p.m. GMT. You can sort out your own time zones from those two things, hopefully. If you didn't know, it's a regular occurrence. It has been since the new year, something I'm doing here. You guys seem to really like it. I've been enjoying it, something you guys can look forward to, because lockdowns seem to be ever increasing here in the UK at the very least anyway, with no apparent end anyway. So yeah, and if you're watching this one back, because this will still be on the channel live after this one, hey, give the video a big thumbs up, I guess. But we've got our members here in the chat. We've got Jack, nice to have you on, dude. We've got Vasi, nice to have you on. Finbar White, we've got Bird Boy, good, nice. We've got some good members. Well, everyone's a good member. So if you didn't know, we've got memberships to the channel open now. If you want to support, but you don't want to head on over to Patreon, because Patreon's not the best, is it? Let's be honest. I have memberships open now, basically. So like I said, we do have a very specific, I would almost call it a smear piece in some instances. I'd call it a smear piece, but it's not. It's the usual Hollywood spin, and at this point, like, it just writes itself. You just know what's going to be said. So although, in any other circumstances we would say, like, oh yeah, it's absolutely, a smear piece. I mean, it's not, because we all know what to expect these days. It's just garbage. It's absolute garbage. So we're going to be covering that today, and I'm waiting on Script Doctor turning up. But it's an interesting piece. I've actually linked it down below in the description box. So if you want to read it along with me and Script Doctor, please do. But as he is taking his sweet, sweet time, what we'll do is we'll just get to some questions first. Where are we all in the world? Guys, where are you all? Where are you? Let me know. Byron, Mr. H, you're a hero. Speaking out against Marxist monsters. Thanks, I guess. The Harlequin. Forget the guest. Tell us your thoughts on The Expanse. So I've been waiting for Lauren Chen to jump back on to do season 2 review. I mean, I finished it all. I finished it all like 2 weeks ago. I've been binge watching the crap out of The Expanse. So yeah, I just in the interim before we get to the main topic, my thoughts on The Expanse is fantastic. It's the best sci-fi show I've seen for many, many years. Many years. So good. And I don't know why I missed it. I guess maybe because it was on the Sci-Fi Channel originally, and then it moved to Amazon. Obviously in the UK we don't get the Sci-Fi Channel as far as I'm aware. And I've got Amazon Prime, so when it was there I was like, oh, I've seen that now, and it's become something which I had sort of spotted and I became aware of. But it's a shame I hadn't seen it sooner, because I love it. I think it's great. Like, thank you to everyone for badgering me to watch it. It's super cool. I'm very intrigued to see where they go with season 6. Let's put it that way. No spoilers. If those new people just joining this, we are going to be talking about a very specific topic, Gina Carano and a smear campaign against her. I'm just giving people, my guests, the benefit of the doubt of turning up, because they're a little bit behind. So we're now talking about The Expanse, basically. But I love it. I'm really keen to see where it goes. I need to go back to season 1 though, because somewhere along the line, I can't remember her name, Naomi Nagata's voice, I think it changed. And I think she started putting on the heavy belter accent, and it's bloody annoying. And I could have sworn she didn't do that in the first few episodes of the first few seasons. I could have sworn it, but I need to go back and confirm it to myself, because it almost disappeared in a few episodes as well, but then it was back again. But it bloody pisses me off. I hate it so very much. Thomas Jane's fantastic in it. It's just a great show. It's an absolutely great show. There's Bobby Draper, what a great character. It's just fantastic. There's nothing bad about it. I don't even begrudge the CGI. The Expanse is great. But I'm gonna do a whole live stream on that, whether it's just me sitting here gushing and talking to you guys about it, or I don't care. But it's not the topic for today. But thank you so much anyway. Lots of people from all around the world here. Nice. Phoenix, US, someone in Taunton. I used to live in Taunton. Dublin. I didn't know you were UK. UK, I guess. Ireland. Not really the UK. You know what I mean. Vasi. London, Belgium. I'm in SA. South Africa? Is that South Africa? Ugandinga. There you go. Some South African for you there. Afrikaans. Canada. Script Doctor is supposed to be coming on, but I don't know where he is yet. I did message him just before this, so we'll have to see where he is. But loads of people. Cool, all around the world. Let me just see where he is. Just finishing up a call, and I'll hop on. Yeah, so he is joining. Finbar White keeping the lights on for £5. Thank you so much. Hey, Mr. H, what do you think of them recasting Gina Carano role? Are you getting more nervous nearer we get to premiere of your movie? So that's actually going to be covered in this. Apparently, they're not recasting it. They've got no interest in recasting it. They're just going to kill her off screen. But we'll cover that because there's an extensive The Hollywood Reporter smear piece, which we'll get to. Am I getting nervous to the premiere of the film? Yeah, a little bit. I've screened it to quite a few people now, actually, and it was all positive. I do think I will probably not ever enter film festivals again. It's very expensive, and they have very, very particular requirements that they want you to hit. So I don't think I'm ever going to enter film festivals again in future. But I am nervous, yeah, and it's not so. Like, people are going to hate it anyway. Like, there will be people that dislike the film, and that's fine. I'm more nervous about the people that helped fund it. I really want those people to get from this film what they want. That's what I'm nervous about. That's the nervousness. Yeah, South Africa. Yeah, well, there you go. You've got some Afrikaans there for you then. Jack, how did you like the season finale of The Expanse? It was amazing, tense, and emotional. Can't remember I had feeling for any TV show for a long time. Yes. Yeah. It was great. Like, genuinely, it is fantastic. Left field thing happened. Again, I don't want to go into spoilers, but didn't expect that to happen. But I also think that they did that in a very respectful way to the character. That's all I'll say. I can't say much because we're just going into spoilers. So, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone because that's not nice. Where's Jasper? He's upstairs, actually. He's upstairs chilling on my bed. We were just upstairs having cuddles before I came down to do this. So, but now I'm here doing this. Right then. Shall we? Please go to this video and dislike Kathleen Kennedy 2021 Scientific and Technical Awards. I will probably have to do a reaction to that video, won't I? I've not even seen that. Anyway, let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. Right, so behind Disney's firing of Mandalorian star Gina Carano, they've got, ladies and gents, they've got the big scoop. They've got the scoop. Oh, of course they have, ladies and gents. Written by none other than 3 people. Did you notice this? Aaron Couch, Tatiana Siegel, and Boris Kitt. I've butchered them names on purpose, FYI. 3 people. It took 3 people to write this smear campaign. This will be interesting, won't it? Oh, Oh, so this is what I wanted some other people to kind of jump on board and talk about with. But you only have to have a look at the initial opener, right? The headline or the subtitle there. The ouster of Carano from the show draws the ire of the political right wing, or simply just fans. I mean, you don't have to be right wing to not be impressed by this. Instantly, we have a disingenuous, bad faith article. Instantly, I'm not right wing. I'm a centrist. I'm a classical liberal. Not liberal that you guys have in the States, completely different. I'm a classical liberal. Like what? Thus, fundamentally proving everyone's point that anything remotely a little bit to the right of left is considered right wing to these plebs. Super Neon Mike, we've got a brand new member. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, I hope you enjoy memberships. It's just another way to help support the channel outside of Patreon. Jack, channel suggestion. Would it be an idea for you to do live streams with members? It doesn't have to be long. Even 10 minutes would be great. Yeah, that is a good suggestion, actually. I will probably... So the thing is, with memberships and with Patreon, so Patreon... firstly, thank you so much, Jack. You always have great contributions. I really do enjoy your comments and things. Yeah. So before we get into the meat of the article a little bit, and if you guys want to do super chats and get me to discuss something as well as the article, please do. With memberships, I've set it up so it's just a blanket thing at the moment. Now, Patreon has very specific tiers that you get rewards for. So one through it's like $1 or $2 through to $50 get all the same in terms of weekly playthroughs, which one's going up in a minute. Then for $10 or more Patreons, they then get access to a Skype Hangout, guaranteed once a month, but sometimes more. It's always been more, but I can only commit in writing 100% to once a month, and they're really good fun. People really like them. And then for $15 or more, people get access to like just having normal conversations with me via DMs, like on Twitter and things like that. Nothing weird. Literally just, hey, how you doing? Yeah, good. Like, it's for people who want to get to know me a little bit more. That's how I set up Patreon. And then for $50 or more, you get access to literally sit down and have an hour Skype session with me once a month. So that's how the patron tiers are done. Now, because I just set up memberships in a rush, I've just set it up as a blanket. You just get access to the playthroughs. But I will set it up, I think, in future so something changes. Your suggestion here is really, really good. But I would probably need to schedule it. So the members drop on and have like a slot on like a members live stream, I guess, maybe. So good idea. Maybe email me a suggestion if you have an idea, mistagereviews@gmail.com. But hopefully everyone else wasn't bored by all of that. Hopefully you guys sort of see the point to explaining all of that. Do more car videos. I will, but we've been on lockdown, so I can't really do much. Anyway, like I say, look, this whole opener here, the ouster of Carano from the show draws the ire of the political right wing and marks an inflection point for Lucasfilm. Sure, but it's a disingenuous argument from the off. You don't have to be right wing to think that this is poo, you know. Like, I'm not right wing. I think it's poo. So we can all see what we're dealing with here. Very disingenuous, very, very disingenuous article. And no, I don't have the 350 anymore. I got rid of that ages ago. In fact, there's been car videos on this channel with my other car since. You have not been on here for a while, have you, NZ guy? Right, anyway, so let's dive into it, right? Now, it's interesting. We didn't know clear-cut confirmation that she had warnings before all of this, but this seems to imply, yep, absolutely, she's been repeatedly warned, etc. And just in the nick of time, we've now got Script Doctor here.
Hello, good afternoon and good evening, everybody.
How's it going? You all right?
I'm doing well. I just got off a business call, so I'm happy to jump in here and you know, talk the latest THR spin piece.
I mean, yeah, it's like I I opened this stream by saying it's basically a smear campaign, right? Like it's basically a smear piece. But because it's something that we expect nowadays, it's just spin. Like we just call it something different. But it is. It's a smear piece, isn't it? Really? Would you agree with that assessment, or do you think otherwise?
I would say yes. It's something of a smear piece, and it tries to equate a non-contentious point of view with some that have actually been kind of contentious, like when they bring up James Gunn and a couple other people. I mean, it's apples and oranges from my perspective. She made no specific identifying parties involved with the Instagram post she retweeted. So it was left open to be a little bit open to interpretation, and yet people decided to
Think the worst.
Pick the worst. Yeah, and
yeah. It's awful. Like I did that in one of my last live streams. I made a point of saying like how we're so quick to assume the worst of everybody these days. It's what a horrible. We need more earnest sort of earnest approach to life. A little bit more positivity. Why do we always assume the worst of everyone? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
Absolutely
and also like learning what the difference between satire and slander and sarcasm.
Yeah.
I mean, you say earnest and what's and like being a little bit honest, and I'm reminded of the ironic play, The Importance of Being Earnest, which is all about the characters not being earnest. And yeah, you probably tried to reinterpret that today, or at least not reinterpret it, but do it today to a modern audience, and I don't think they'd get it, just because we've kind of lost a little bit of that over the years of what is the difference between being honest and understanding context. And yeah, just and then this piece, I'd hardly call it an article, but I just call it a piece.
Well,
really,
did you know
really messes with that. Yeah,
3 people to write this. 3 people wrote this.
Oh man, I know journalists that hate sharing the byline with just one other person, let alone 2. So like this.
Yeah, honestly, Erin Couch, Tatiana Siegel, Boris Kitt. I butcher the names on purpose because I feel they deserve that disrespect. 3 people wrote this. So I've not really gotten that far into it, to be honest. I covered the opening and I said instantly it's a disingenuous statement to say that it draws the ire from the political right wing. Well, it might do, but also everyone else as well. Like, why are you leaving that out? Why is the right wing the buzzword part? I'm not right wing, so how'd you work that one out? Why was I annoyed and frustrated by this? Like, it's just such a disingenuous opening remark.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit of irony to it too, because what you see on social media is a lot of people calling people horrible things that relate to the Second World War, and Gina does tweets and Instagram posts regarding a context of how things got to that situation, and that's what gets a person canceled, or in this case fired, not calling some strange person that contentious member of a political party that was considered evil to society. It's just very, it's peculiar. It's incredibly peculiar, but I guess par for the course now in Disney's Hollywood, because that's what it really is right now. It's Disney's Hollywood. They're the biggest player. They're changing the game. They're the ones that have probably told, or at least suggested to some of the agencies that, hey, if you support or represent Gina Carano after this, we might have to reconsider all your clients when doing our casting or hiring. And that's probably why UTA dropped her as well, and their other agencies.
It's disgraceful, really, isn't it?
It really, well, I mean, it's mob mentality. It's basically organized crime on this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's I mean, it's sort of, as you say, mob mentality. I mean, there's so many other sort of comparisons to it. It's hey, let's gather round, systematically remove this person, from essentially the mainstream industry that we work in. I mean, it's pretty grouped in together there, isn't it?
It also shows how fragile an ego that some of the people at Disney who made this decision have. It's just one little nudge saying like, yeah, we did something good with this character, with this actor that's up and coming. I mean, she's and not to make it come across as I'm being insulting to Gina, but Gina, she's in her mid to late 30s, so she's not considered in Hollywood to be a prime talent to go after. even though I would argue against that. I don't think age is really the biggest factor for talent. But yet she's the number one searched for and discussed person on IMDb. She's got this charming and very open and compassionate presence when she speaks publicly and whatnot. And I think there's a lot to admire from her. And she's come from a very unique background to get to where she is. She came. Not a whole lot of fighters make a successful transition from fighting to a game show like American Gladiators to television movie appearances and maintain a level of popularity. It's kind of rare when you take a look at like the vast numbers of how many people are in those fighting industries, whether it's the MMA or wrestling or boxing or what have you. Like it's the majority of them don't transition to other careers like Gina has. Or for like John Cena or Dwayne Johnson, like it just doesn't happen as often as So,
well, no, they don't give them a chance. They don't give them a chance to begin or even, get better and sort of hone their craft either. Rex Blazer,
and she was actually growing quite significantly with every role, like getting better and better, being given more lines, more things to do. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, she's not the best actress. She's not, but was she improving? Yeah, absolutely. The same as Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson was horrendous when he first started, and now like he's improved. I don't know whether we can say he's good yet, but he's definitely improved a lot.
They found his voice in films, so that's what he's able to stick with for a lot. I would say he was really different and actually quite fun to watch in the Southland Tales movie, that crazy film. It has like Kevin Smith in it, and Sean William Scott plays twins.
No, this is new to me.
It's a weird movie. I suggest watching it when you really have nothing else to watch and want to see something very weird. I think it's called Southland Tales. I'm pretty sure it's Southland Tales. If I'm wrong, correct me in the chat, please. But
well, speaking of the chat, Rex Blazer dropped on for $5 and says a little more genuine compassion and understanding would be appreciated. Yeah, exactly. People jumping the gun before context is even provided it's just bad. It's just mob mentality, tribalistic. It's just bizarre, really. Admiral Awesome dropped on and says, I just cancelled my subscription to Disney Plus. I love Gina Carano. Mickey can go screw himself. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, people just need to talk with their wallets at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people have been. We've got one more super chat before we go into a little bit more of this article. No, two more super chats, sorry. Jack says, for the far left, being centrist is the new alt-right. Yeah, it is. It is, actually. I don't know if because you seem pretty, I mean, I'm not going to ask you your specific beliefs, but you seem pretty centrist.
I would say I'm pretty center. I mean, I listen to various different points of view, and I have my own opinions of things, and I'm never 100% on stuff too. That's the other part. Like I still leave it open. Like maybe there's information I don't have, but like if there's something I'm confident in, I'll support it. But I'm always open and willing to learn something new and be corrected or have that new information because it benefits me and it might benefit something that I do later on in my life. So I'm not going to put up a wall against it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but Jack saying exactly what we all have been saying basically is that anything right of the far left is the alt right. So any centrist now is basically that, and it's just ridiculous. Tarok 79 dropped on and says, greetings, Battle Brothers. Do you think the whole cancel culture will be worse as we move forth, or have we reached a turning point? I think it's only going to get worse for the foreseeable future because of who is in power in the States. I think that they feel emboldened. So I don't see why it wouldn't get worse. I don't know whether you have any further opinion on that, but I think it will just get worse due to who's in power.
Yeah, probably. Sadly, I mean, I would like it to. I would like the concept of cancel culture to actually face the consequences of what it actually is, and it's.
I tell you what's so funny though, is like, because it's something that we've had on the news numerous times here in the UK, right? Cancel culture, this, cancel culture, that, and all the sort of left wingers, like sort of political commentators, anyway, especially on Twitter, they're like, cancel culture doesn't exist, whatever, blah 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 blah, and then they get cancelled, and they're like, oh, I've been cancelled by the mob. And it's like, well, no shit, dickhead. We've been trying to tell you this for like however long. Like, what are you doing? But then they still try to deny it, or they say they circumvent the blame. They're like, oh, well, I didn't do this. I shouldn't have been cancelled. It should have been someone else. It's like, oh, for God's sake. Like, why can't we just all admit, like, we can have some common ground here? Cancelling people's pretty bad. Like, come on. Ridiculous stuff.
It's horrible. And here's the other part, too. In this case here, they canceled Gina Carano's character and Gina Carano because she's a role model and one that harkens back to something we haven't seen in television for a very long time. Her character was someone who made mistakes, was regretful, in hiding, but willing to help a town and teach them to defend themselves. She earned herself a second chance. She was on a redemption arc, and then she ends up becoming a marshal, removing an evil threat from the planet Navarro. And she's helping her friend, and for all the right reasons, for compassion, for respect. And it's like, wow, we don't have a character that is like that in television. They're always got some sort of gimmick of a convoluted flaw, like serious depression or serious doubt or serious drug or alcohol abuse or something that just is like, why do we have to have the flaws this way? Where as opposed to a flaw that's like, oh, I regret the fact that, like, after we beat the Empire, I probably made some mistakes where the New Republic doesn't kind of like me anymore, and maybe I got to get myself back in order because of that. And we don't know what those mistakes are, and we don't need to know. Because she was Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and the other people on that show wrote in the motivation for her that we understood and followed, and we're like, yeah, we're seeing her kind of, take on some new responsibility and right wrongs from her own perspective, and we don't know what those are, and we don't need to know. But I guess that popularity, not just of the actor, but also the interesting aspects of the character. I mean, they leaned into the fact that she's a survivor of Alderaan. That was something we haven't. Only Leia is the only one we've ever seen. Only Leia was a survivor of Alderaan in the Star Wars universe, as far as we know up until this point. We finally got another one. Yeah, and it's a different story. Yeah,
and it's gone.
And it's gone now. Yeah.
So quickly get some super chats, then we'll start getting into the meat of this article. Robert Watson, a few people have been telling me about this KK Oscar video. I'm going to do like a video on it. I haven't seen it yet, so my video that I make will be a live reaction to it. I won't do it here on this live stream, but it will be a video
for you.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, look, apparently 6.7k dislikes and only like 77 likes. I mean, that is ratioed. So I need to do it soon because it's going to get taken down, I'm sure. Rex Blazer, I myself am centrist and tend to see both sides as superficial, each ignoring their own flaws while wasting everyone's time nitpicking the others. Yeah, my stance on like left and right, like I don't care either or, left or right. There's pros and cons between the two, and I think that's what makes you a centrist, right? You can actually see beyond the fundamental, the fundamentalist political views. Where people just blindly follow stuff because they belong to a party. That's wrong.
Yeah, like party loyalty over the perspectives of discourse. Like that's what it was. Like, it's like we need someone of the opposite side of our perspective so that maybe there might be some problem solving that can be accomplished. And that's the value of it. When you have two sides that don't want to talk to each other, just accuse each other blatantly for whatever, you end up being in a state of arrested development, and that's exactly what leads to bad life.
Yeah. So let's dive into a little bit, right? So let's just take a look. I can see the intro and I can see the real bad comparison straight away. It's a plot twist that no studio relishes. One of its high-profile stars sparks outrage with a controversial social media post. Well, it wasn't, though. It was controversial to some people that were taking it out of context. Bearing in mind the fact that they've already had their Christelle, the woman that works for them doing the Star Wars: The High Republic.
Oh, she's the host of the YouTube channel.
Yeah, numerous things that are controversial. Like racism, maybe, just maybe.
Well, at least
but they stand with her.
at the most
utterly
politest,
ludicrous.
it's kind of like a discrimination or a
Mm,
rudeness towards a specific demographic of people. And that's at the polite way you can phrase it.
mm, yeah. On February 10th, The Mandalorian's Gina Carano became the latest member of the Disney fold to do so, joining a list that includes Roseanne Barr. What was the Roseanne Barr situation? What was
Oh,
that?
she made an allegation that someone from, I believe, President Obama's office was a primate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it kind of blew up for about 36 hours. Then she was
Was it a
fired,
joke
and
or what was it?
uh, she thought it was a joke. She also didn't realize the person was, I believe, black or of another
Right,
ethnicity.
yeah.
She
Well,
had
I
no
mean
idea.
that is understandably going to cause a lot of issues, isn't it? Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
and
Um,
yeah, she was fired, and then Roseanne became the show The Conners, and it's
oh God. Oh yeah, no, I know about this now. Yes, I remember. Roseanne Barr's a nobody in the UK. Just for anyone that is wondering why I'm so confused, she's a nothing over here.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember hearing about that. Okay, James Gunn. Well, we all know what happened with James Gunn. Um, Personally, I've maintained this stance. I know some people won't like it, but they're just bad taste jokes. Like I'm aware a lot of people are very agitated by it and offended by it. I just think they're bad taste jokes. I think public discourse decides what's funny. Hence the reason why he no longer does them, because they're not funny, because they're just crap jokes. I mean, what's your stance on that?
Yeah, it was. I've read a lot of jokes like that from other people that got their start in trauma, because that's
Yeah,
where he
like his
kind of got his
edge
start.
lord sort of.
Because trauma goes crazy sometimes. I've seen some of their stuff that
Yeah,
they put out where it's like, why would someone film this at all? And it's like, well, it's trauma in
yeah,
New Jersey, but that's what they do. I'm like,
yeah. It's like trying to push the boundaries constantly, sort of thing. It's just, I mean, it's
yeah,
lazy as well. Personally, like they're not
it's
good.
lazy and shock. It's all about the
Yeah,
shock. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I condemn him just for shit comedy. I'm not condemning him for, the jokes themselves or the fact that people believe them to be real. I'm condemning him because I just think that like he should have thought better. Like he should have known that they weren't funny because it's just
Yeah,
crap.
for a person at his age at that time, you would expect he had the experience and wisdom to not have to go
Yeah.
that far. Um,
Letitia Wright is the Black Panther actress. Now I can't remember what did she do because did she
she
post
had
something
doubts.
questioning something?
I believe she had doubts about the effectiveness and method of one of the pandemic vaccines.
Right. Well, I mean,
Um,
that's a perfectly reasonable statement to have, quite frankly.
like that's my understanding of it. I haven't read the actual details of it. Like
Right.
because even
Right.
I have. I mean, I like the adenovirus type of vaccines. I think those are we've been
Hmm.
using them for decades. They have the least
Yeah.
amount of issues, and I like
Yep.
that methodology. The new one there, I have my doubts, but if it's working, it's working. And if
Well,
you want to take it, take
well,
it.
yeah.
I'm
The
not
thing
going to
is, isn't
force.
it? Like, you know, I think unfortunately, what people tend to forget with vaccines is that they are not foolproof. They are fantastic. Like I myself have been
Mhm.
vaccinated against numerous things because I've had to work in numerous countries. Um, but are they foolproof? No. Like the UK government last year alone had to pay compensation in the region of £90 million due to brain damage that was caused
Yeah,
by vaccines. So they're not foolproof. Having an air of quizzical sort of curiosity about it is probably,
it's
I would say
reasonable. Yeah,
within your right of.
especially for the newer stuff that's like rushed into production and whatnot. Like you want things that are properly tested and vetted, and like again,
Yeah.
I've worked in many other countries. I've had a lot of vaccines.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, you just kind of have to do it. And remember, a vaccine's not a cure. You still can get the thing. It helps your body fight it off more effectively.
Well, yeah, that again, that is the thing, isn't it? So, FYI, not being anti-vaxxer, I shouldn't
Yeah,
even need to say this because the statements being made are perfectly logical statements. But no, it's just a general discussion. So no, I don't feel like she did anything wrong there either. And Liu Yifei, I butchered that. This was the one who supported Hong Kong. No, supported the police in Hong Kong, isn't it?
yes, I believe it was the police brutality specifically in Hong Kong.
Yes. Yeah, and she's not fired, and I wonder why. I wonder why.
Yeah, uh,
Because
jeez.
they then since had obviously thanked the CCP for filming next to the Uyghur concentration camps, didn't they?
That is true. The other part too is, do you remember there was an actress in China who disappeared for a few months? I can't remember her name, but she disappeared for a few months, and the rumor was that because she made some controversial statements, at least regarding China on social media, that the
Yes,
government
quite a
got rid of
famous
her.
one, wasn't it?
Yeah, quite. Her name is
Yes.
escaping me, but this was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, I do remember this actually. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember, as a member in the industry, people will bring up like, "Yeah, we want to do a movie with her, but nobody can get in
Hmm.
contact with her for some reason." And
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite strange. I think there was also like a fine she had to pay as well, like several $1 million.
Yes. Yeah, no, I do remember this. I do remember this.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
shrouded in my mind. I'm trying to make it more clear, but it's a little tricky because I can't
I think it was
remember her
only like
name.
2 years ago, wasn't it? I thought
It
it
was
was only
like
two
two
years
two
ago.
and a half years ago or so. Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this because I remember there being quite a lot of like, well, what's going on here sort of thing.
Hmm.
But anyway, the article continues. It says each drawing varying degrees of action or inaction from the studio. Yeah, I mean, they've done some things, definitely. And no studio faces greater scrutiny over its decisions than the family friendly Hollywood giant. Well, they're not the face of Lucasfilm. They're not the face of The Mandalorian. Lucasfilm is the face of The Mandalorian. Yes, it's on Disney Plus now, which puts it there. But I mean, Lucasfilm was still the face of it. It'd be like someone complaining about, what happens with like Miramax back in the day when Disney owned it. Like Disney aren't going to care too much. Like it's
Same with
Miramax.
Touchstone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a strange thing to add there. Real quick, I actually got a super chat here. It says Michael Von Doom, great name as well, dude. There are pronouns that can apply to anyone as they choose. So how can not using them mean you are specifically gunning at LGB? Oh, I can't say that.
That's funny.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, yeah, you are right. I mean, what if? I mean, people apparently consider themselves to be nothing as well. So surely not having pronouns puts themselves
Yep.
as that as well. I mean, if they're
There's gender neutral and gender absent, I think.
non-conforming and all of this kind of stuff, I mean, surely that's part of it as well. I mean,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
you're right.
even like even if you go back, so like I know some I have family friends who in the UK who used to work with Ian McKellen way back in the
Mm,
day. And at that time, like everybody in the industry knew that he was gay, but
yeah,
he didn't come out publicly about it. And there's a reason for it, and there was a respect there, and that was true to a lot of other people in Hollywood as well. It's like, yeah, that's their livelihood, but we are not in the position to dictate when they want to reveal that publicly. And now we have
mm,
on social media people saying we want to know your pronouns. It's like that is overstepping the politeness
yeah,
of understanding other people, and they're doing it. Some of them I would believe are doing it under the guise of, yeah, you have to be in support of these communities. Well, one of the biggest part about being supportive of that community is not forcing them to reveal themselves if they're not comfortable,
mm,
and seems kind of antithetical to that too, especially whether or not it is true for Gina or for anyone else. No one should be trying to dictate if and when you decide to come out publicly as whatever. It's
yeah.
not their decision. It's the
Well,
individuals.
that's what they say, isn't it? Just let people do it whenever they want. So surely it's the same thing of demanding pronouns of someone. What a hypocritical way to act then, surely.
Yeah.
They say no, you should let people, reveal themselves as, and this is the leftist attitude anyway. The far left is you should let people reveal themselves in their own time. Like you don't force it out of people, right? I mean,
That would be
so
the more
surely
reasonable. Yeah, the more reasonable left. The left of say 40 years ago.
yeah, but now it's not. That's so strange. By the way, we're being corrected. It's Lee Fan Bingbing, I think. Fan Bingbing was the actress. That
Oh,
that
I
that
think,
rings a bell, doesn't
is
it?
that right? A little bit, yeah.
Well, it rings a bell to me anyway. Marshmallow dropped on and says transracial is a new one. What? Is that a new one? Is
What?
it transracial?
Well, like they're aliens?
No, I think it's people that believe that they're a different race.
That's
I
not
think. I don't
human?
know. I've got
Or
no
different
idea.
ethnicity? Or because I
I
mean,
think
like
so.
we're
I was
all human beings.
born in the wrong
That's
pigment, wrong melanin. I
the
guess I
one
don't know.
melon. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
That's
that's
new to
ethnicity,
me.
trans ethnicity, which is a bit
Yeah.
more accurate because you have to remind people we're the same species.
Well, yeah,
Even though
exactly. Yeah.
some of our behaviors are weird and kind of alien, we are the same species. We're the one human race.
Wow. I mean, some people's actions would say otherwise,
or would make you question that, absolutely. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm loads of people in the chat are just like, I'm so confused. You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
I live. Just side note, I lived in one of the most bohemian sort of hipster lefty places in the UK, Brighton. I lived there for a few years. When I came back from working in the States, when I came back from working in Galveston, actually. But that was a good few years ago. But even this stuff, like I've got no idea about, like this new stuff that's coming out, like absolutely no idea, literally no idea. Even this confuses me. So yeah, you're not the only one that's confused, Bardell. Marshmallow confirms it's someone legally changed their race, so they are now transracial.
Oh,
wow!
I wonder if I could become Klingon, because I actually really like their code of honor system. You know,
I don't think you'd be allowed. I don't think
it's an official language.
Maybe discrimination against Klingons is fine. I don't know.
Maybe, but like, because there is an official language. Like, you can actually go on like most dictionary translation sites and get Klingon translations, so it is legit. So why not?
Well, also Jedi was put on as a religion or something like that at one point as well.
I remember hearing about that in Australia when I was working on.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Right. Anyway, and also, guys, smash the thumbs up button. We got 611 people here. Let's try and get at least 600 likes on the stream. We'd really appreciate that. But anyway, so they obviously compare Gina Carano to a bunch of people. Some, like I would say, Letitia Wright is a good comparison. Someone that they did nothing to, because they didn't really do anything wrong. Like that's what I would say. Gina Carano's comparison is most.
Yeah, if my understanding to Letitia Wright's thing is correct, I would say that would probably be the most comparable.
Yeah. Oh, but we go into it, don't we? So in Carano's case, the move to cut ties had been brewing for some time. In the months leading up to Disney's Investor Day presentation, December 10th, Carano's agents at UTA were negotiating for the actress to receive a sizable bump for a planned spin-off of Disney Plus's The Mandalorian that was to star her fan favorite character. So they note who she is. She's going to be a star. She's the fan favorite, Cara Dune. Does anyone want to guess how much Gina Carano was making per episode she was in of the biggest movie studio series of all time, Mandalorian? Anyone want to guess? Anyone want to guess?
Oh, I know. So.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, this is to the populace watching. Okay, we got some reasonable sort of guesses there. I think some people have already read it, to be fair. Yeah. Alice Walker, 20K, 50K. There's a good range there. Someone says 1 million, 300K. So it's interesting. Like there's a good amount, but obviously some people have read it already. So she made 25,000 to 50,000 per episode,
which is kind of typical for like a guest star role on a television series, and especially in the early seasons, and especially if you're not a very prominent name.
Yeah, but you would have thought with the popularity,
at least for the second season, I would expect it to go up significantly.
Yeah, and like bearing in mind that people were buying all the toys, that she was a selling point, which is you could have actually established by metrics that you can measure. You know.
Oh yeah, an agent or manager would be able to be like, yeah, we're renegotiating my client's salary.
Yeah. But look, I mean, obviously, a lot of people wouldn't sniff at that. That's great. It's fantastic.
I'd love to get paid just to work one day off for that much for one day.
yeah,
for one episode.
But the fact that she was bringing people in and you can actually measure this, it does seem a little bit of a small thing at that point.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she was poised to be touted. This new series was poised to be touted during the presentation, which Kathleen Kennedy announced 10 new shows. including Rangers of the New Republic, a series that seemed tailor-made for Carano, which it did.
It did, but I was hearing other things, which is that the Rangers was more like the X-wing pilots and the guys hopping from planet to planet, and that the Cara Dune show was with her and Carl Weathers, and that was going to take place mostly, I guess, either on Navarro of her cleaning it up or something of that nature, but it wasn't her. Because she was the marshal of that planet, like that's where she's supposed to be. She took a sabbatical, air quotes, to help Mandalorian, but that's her home now. So I would imagine if they're, and Favreau's a little bit, I mean, consistent with how he does things with his characters. So I would imagine if he was pitching a show, it'd be, you know, learning about this planet and getting it back, you know, to a vibrant society, and, you know, Cara Dune being the arbiter of that. The Ranger stuff feels more like, because you have like the images of the wings, which is a significant thing of flight and air and space travel for Star Wars. So that felt more like, oh, it's going to be, you know, the X-wing pilots that we saw in those
that's
episodes.
What it seemed to be. That's what it seemed to me, anyway.
Yeah, that's what my understanding was what it was going to be, and that the reason they didn't, because why would they? Like, this is clearly a conspiracy to terminate, to use corporate terms. And it's done in a way where they don't have any legal recourse because it's in between contracts.
Yeah.
So why would they announce a Cara Dune show only to cancel it if, in fact, it wasn't in fact the Cara Dune show? Because again, they didn't announce everything. The Book of Boba Fett came announced a week after. Yeah. And I've been hearing rumors for months that there's going to possibly be a Cara Dune show that was not going to be announced on D20 on the Disney thing because there are some powers that be that don't want her around. And now here we are.
now they got what they wanted.
Yeah.
John Harrison dropped on back to the whole sort of acronym thing. Says, do you know about the term BAME, Black and Muslim Ethnicity? It was on a morning news thing. I think it's actually Black and Minority Ethnic, if I remember rightly. That's something which they've taken in the UK. That's probably not in Canada, is it? Is it in Canada?
Not that I've heard in Canada, but I have heard it on some UK news.
Yeah, BAME. They just keep trying to. They just
new acronyms, man.
It's fucking honestly, BIPOC, BAME. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, honestly. BIPOC. Whenever I read it, I keep on going back to biopic or biopic.
It makes sense. Robert for $5 says button smashed. Cheers, thank you, really appreciate it. You are right. Like, I mean, obviously, like the Rangers of the New Republic didn't seem to be for Carano anyway. So I think you raise a good point.
I had no doubts that she'd probably have a guest star role on it. It's like
like drip in and out of it. Also, she probably would have appeared on it to make sure people watched it. That was the thing.
Oh yeah. Like maybe they get oh man, I keep forgetting his name, but I know this actor. He's on Kim's Convenience. He's the dad. He was the Asian guy, X-wing pilot who gave Cara Dune the badge. I mean, that would be his show or his participation, and he would probably check in with Gina Carano's character and like that opening episode or something.
Exactly, to get people to watch it.
Yeah,
she'd be in the trailer. You know, she'd be in the teaser. Because otherwise, like that, it was set up. It was set up so perfectly for that, but not set up for her to leave and join. It wouldn't have made any sense, I don't think.
Exactly, and most of the second season, almost every new character in there was pretty much a test run to see if they can make a show about them. Like, there's probably going to be a show with Timothy Oliphant because he's willing to do streaming television.
Yeah, we did Justified for ages, didn't he? He
did Justified. He also did Santa Clarita Diet, which is probably one of his best performances I've seen him take, because he completely went against type in that. And I would not be surprised to see him come back as this guy, a marshal of that place on Tatooine.
Yeah, that would be good fun. It would be good fun. So, I mean, Mark Rossay, member of the channel and contributor here for $4.99. Thank you so much, dude. Says, Mr. H, did Gina get a percentage of her action figure toy sales? Why else would Disney contact the toy makers to stop production? That's more money for them. Do you know anything about this? Because I would have imagined that she would have got some form of percentage for the likeness at the very least. But I know Disney are very tight with their contracts.
It depends on if she was able to negotiate a fee for her likeness with regards to merchandise.
Mm.
The thing is, like, she comes from and outside of the film entertainment industry, so she probably wouldn't have a whole lot of negotiating power unless there were other rights regarding merchandise with her MMA career and with
That's true.
anything else she did.
That's true.
So I have no idea. I imagine that they pulled it primarily for optic reasons, like they don't want people being to remember this character later on. I think that's my suspicion.
Yeah, true. I think both points are actually quite valid.
Which stinks for me because I ordered I ordered 2 of her figures because I don't buy toys that often, but I liked her character, and I ordered 2 of those figures in December, and now they've been canceled and refunded because they were back ordered. So
that's crap. Not cool. Not cool.
Yeah.
One more real quick before we get back into the article. Ryan Johnson popping off about his trilogy is a red herring. YouTubers need to avoid the bait. They want you to stop talking about Gina. Yeah, that did come out pretty quickly, actually, to be fair. What
I think like the same day.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, yeah, I mean, look, we inevitably do know that they do this. The PR campaigns run like this. So I would say that's more than reasonable to assume that that was a possibility for sure. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're no sooner to seeing anything. So who knows what's happening with that pile of garbage? Who knows? Anyway, let's get a bit more into this. Obviously, Carano was nowhere to be found during the lengthy presentation. In the lead up to the event, Carano had become a lightning rod among Star Wars fans. Those people on Twitter are not Star Wars fans.
Well, it's actually both true and false. Like, a lot of Star Wars fans do like Gina Carano, and then the ones that don't like her
True, but
is also a lightning rod for them.
That baying mob that were complaining about her and her pronouns, the ones running a sustained hate campaign using bots and just numerous accounts, the people just making accounts left, right, and center so they could spew hatred. I can't imagine they are a Star Wars fan, or at least to the point of being a consumer, someone that actually pays for stuff. Would you agree with that or not?
I would agree with that, but I do know some people, sadly filmmakers in Canada and across the country, that they do pay for stuff, but they absolutely despise Gina Carano for reasons they don't understand.
See, I find this fascinating when people when you get to the real meat of why people have the issue with it. A lot of people they can't actually identify. It always comes to implications. Well, she was implying this. No, that's what you've projected onto the situation. Oh yeah, but you could just see it. No, you can't. Don't read into it. You're thinking the worst of someone. Oh yeah, but this is obvious. No, it's not obvious. If the individual is telling you the context, unless you think they're a liar and you think you know the context that they intended, then you have to agree. You have to just take them on their word, surely.
Benefit of the doubt. And on top of that, I'll add this. So I know some producers that are huge fans of The Last Jedi, and they actually and they've been huge fans of Star Wars. They still love all the movies and whatnot. But the reason, and this is what's actually kind of bothersome to myself, the reason they like The Last Jedi is they can relate to that version of Luke Skywalker because their lives have not turned out as great either, and that's why they like it. And I'm thinking that is not what a movie character should not be brought down to the human level, because the reason we go to movies, aside from the entertainment aspect, is hopefully we get inspired by the actions of those characters, of them trying to change their life for the better, and we maybe adopt that type of mentality for our own situations if we feel like we're not in the best of forms. And because I know, and it's rampant among the film industry because it's a lot of rejection. It's a lot of rejection in the film industry. And when you face that much rejection, you get depressed. You stop believing in what you want to do, and that's Luke Skywalker in that movie. And they like, you know what? Yeah, my hero who I grew up with, he's a lot like me now. That's why I love The Last Jedi. It's like that's not the right reason.
That's an awful reason.
That's a horrible reason. That's a tragic reason. It's like basically saying you just gave up on your own life because your hero also gave up. It's really a dangerous reciprocation of attitude. But that's their reasoning for liking it, and it's like, Yeah, you're not creating that thick skin against the rejection for the creative arts industry of
Yeah.
Hollywood or film. Yeah.
Yeah. Valiant Renegade drops on and says hashtags don't pay Disney bills. Fans with money to spend do. If the Twitter mob were paying fans, High Republic would be a blockbuster. Hail, Mr. Age. Yeah, you're right. You are right. It would actually be selling gangbusters. It'd be doing amazing, but it's not. So that's a fairly good evidence for that. But obviously, what you've said there, Script does, have a point as well. Absolutely. Now, so obviously they say, look, Carano have become a lightning rod among Star Wars fans and a headache for Lucasfilm after a series of tweets in which he mocked mask wearing and suggested voter fraud occurred during the 2020 election. Now, let's break this down, right?
Sure.
So the mocking of mask wearing, they've got a link here. So what did she do that was mocking mask wearing? Democratic government leaders now recommends we all wear blindfolds along with masks so we can't see what's really going on.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the pandemic.
that is not mocking mask wearing.
No, that's not.
All. It's not. Now, other people point to her posting a meme where someone had, like a mask on their head and all this kind of stuff.
Was it that dome helmet thing? Like the Mr.
Yeah,
Freeze
there's been a few of them, but they're genuinely quite comedic and they're genuinely quite funny. And I can see the humor in them because people, like, honestly, like over in the States, you guys are being advised now to double mask. Like, fuck off. I'm not going to put condoms on.
One's not going to work, two's not going to do anything better. It's kind of like putting two bandages over like a paper cut. It's like you only need one.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Get a thicker fucking mask. If you've got to wear two masks, just make thicker masks.
In Canada, we wear scarves.
Ridiculous.
In Canada, we wear a scarf over our face and mouth because number one, we already own them because it's cold up here. So we're not lining the pockets of some people. Like I've seen people make masks that literally have labels saying this is not an effective face covering for whatever. So it's like you're just spending your money that is not coming in as frequently because everything's shut down on something that's not actually going to help you, regardless if you think it's a placebo or not. And when you could really just like grab an article of clothing you already have, throw it over your face, and breathe a little bit more comfortably than some of these other ones that say, please do not wear this for more than like 10 minutes at a time because it cuts off the flow of air to yourself. And it's crazy because I always encourage people, like, don't waste your money on, I mean, I'm not an anti-masker in any sort of contentious way. I'm just like, don't waste your money on something that you can't just, do something around the house that can do it. Like Gina Carano did tweet like saying, hey, your unused bras that you can't, that are like, due for the trash, convert them into a face mask. Like that's a funny thing to do. That's also kind of supporting the point. And I think that's what, is better for. Like we should be, if we're not working, we have to be careful with and value what we spend our money on. And people throwing down hundreds and hundreds of dollars on decorative face masks. It's like you're just basically trying to commit to this thing for the long term, and we really want to make sure that we're doing stuff that's possible to make sure that mask wearing isn't a long-term thing. Like I think we all agree we'd like to see people on the street and talk to people on the street and be able to see their mouth and smiles.
Anyway, not to get too much onto this, but the point is it wasn't anti-mask. It wasn't mocking mask wearing. And even if it was mocking mask wearing,
we should be allowed to do that.
So Jimmy Carr has jokes about, doing depraved things to various things which are illegal. I mean, you're going to ban him? Like, it's just nonsense, absolute nonsense. Burberry B, I see you easily give your opinion. What do you suggest we do then, you pleb? You spelt pleb wrong, just as an FYI. So in future, if you're going to insult someone, at the very least, fucking spell correctly. And I did suggest it because I said, if you're told to wear two masks, clearly that's fucking moronic and you should just wear a thicker mask. It's not that difficult. You just look like a twat wearing two masks. I'm sorry. You just should wear a thicker mask. Like, again, it's not difficult. That I did give you my advice. but apparently your inability to spell as well as listen, well, they're rivaled with one another. So anyway, suggested voter fraud occurred. Well, okay.
I don't know about that. I think she wanted to remove all doubt from the voting process.
Well,
That's
let's
my
see. They've
understanding.
linked
Tweet,
it.
yeah.
They've got a hyperlink.
Ooh.
So they've linked it, right? So what does she actually do? We need to clean up the election process so we are not left feeling the way we do today. That's a perfectly reasonable statement to make. Why would anyone in a democratic world not want everyone to feel like it was fair? That's what we all want, right? That's why we live in a democracy at the very least. Put laws in place that protect us against voter fraud. That's not saying that anything actually happened. That's fine. Again, don't see the issue with that. Investigate every state. Yeah, I mean, you should. If someone claims it, and you should investigate at the very least. Again, there's no harm in investigating, is it? It's only going to waste what? I don't know, maximum of like a couple of weeks. It's not exactly hard. Like it won't take much
waste
time.
A couple of weeks, but also confirm the results and removing doubt. That's what's really important, is removing doubt.
Yeah. Well, so what she's doing here is just listing what she's doing here is listing what she thinks is the requirement to get to what she says at the start, which is we need to clean up the election process so no one feels left feeling the way we did today. Here's how to do it. And I think that these are perfectly reasonable things. Film the counting. Well, why don't you film the counting? Why wouldn't you film the counting? Surely that's a good thing to do, is it not? Like what?
Yeah, independent verification from that. As a result of that. Yeah.
Require ID. Yeah, that's again all perfectly reasonable things. I don't see the issue with this. That's not that. What she's saying here doesn't suggest voter fraud occurred. It's saying how we can unify for the future. That is the literal thing she's saying here, is how to unify for the future.
And many of those things that she's suggesting is what we do in Canada. We have ID. We got a paper ballot. We have records of counting processes and things of that nature, because here's the other part too. If there wasn't any doubt, if doubt was removed from any political any election, you wouldn't have a contentious response, because people would be like, okay, it's the person's in, they vetted them, they vetted the vote count, everything's there. Like it may not be the person I voted for, but I believe the vote count, so we're stuck that way, And that's kind of like the situation at the end of every election should be. Is like, yeah, I guess I can't argue the count. The count's accurate. People voted for this person. I mean, and that's what you want to do, because then you can't have that. It doesn't foster peculiar doubt or a conspiracy, because if you remove it all and everything looks, above board properly, people may not like it, but it compels them a little bit more to be a bit more accepting.
Yeah.
As a result, I mean, you can still have your delusional ones, of course, but like it's.
Yeah, I don't, look, I don't see what the issue is with making sure that everyone feels, everything was above board. If a claim is made, you should just investigate it. Just go and investigate it. Don't just shut it down instantly. Just go. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying we should all feel like in a fair democratic society that the majority won fairly, because that's the point, right? Democracy is just the majority.
That it represents that people, yeah.
Yeah, so you just need to make sure that it's fair. There's no issue with saying that. I don't see the problem. So I disagree the entire premise of this. Well, both of these statements here.
Yeah, their own evidence goes against their argument. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the article goes, and shared posts that some viewed as transphobic. So note that they didn't link anything there.
Yeah.
And here we go. So they've got a quote. She was originally in that presentation when they announced all things, and then they pulled her off of it. I don't see that. What was she in? What, as her own separate show? Or was it as the Rangers of the New Republic? Like, what was it?
Part of the trailer for The Mandalorian that they had up there, because they showed that. Or possibly, remember, like back in the day before Disney bought Lucasfilm, when Lucasfilm was doing promotions for Star Wars stuff, they grab clips from all their other films and throw them in a montage for their announcements and stuff. And Disney kind of did the same thing, especially with the Marvel stuff. They throw in Robert Downey Jr. in part of that, and like he's not in Marvel films anymore, at least as far as we know. That can change. So they probably were just using her. She's probably in a clip that they were using or of something with her in it, and who knows?
Yeah. Finbar White Jobs on says they're shutting down anyone who questions the narrative. Yeah, basically. But just as I've said many times on any of these streams, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. I don't see the problem. Like, I don't see the problem in asking questions. Like there's not a problem in asking a question.
No, there isn't. Like questions lead to ideas and understanding. Hopefully, understanding.
Yeah, I mean, you want people to it's super strange, super strange. So anyway, it continues and says a source tells Hollywood Reporter. Obviously, this is the the statement that she was going to be in the presentation, but then they pulled her off of it. But how? Because when did that presentation happen? That was December
10th or 11th, I think.
Hey,
I think it was December 10th or 11th. I think it was a Tuesday.
Well, they're saying December 10th here, so I think it was December 10th. But then, so this is a source. No idea who that is. That's just a rando source. But then they say a Lucasfilm source counters that Carano was never officially part of the December 10th presentation, and no negotiations for future work had even taken place. Is that what? I mean, are you not going to verify this? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, as well from what I've heard from some of my friends inside and some of the people who I know on YouTube that have other friends, there's like, some of the shows announced were not even known by the people who'd be working on those shows. So like it threw a lot of people for a loop for some of those titles. And again, like I don't know if people remember this, but Gina Carano, after she wrapped production on the season 2 of The Mandalorian, she kind of said that she's going to miss these people and whatnot. So she kind of telegraphed that she was not coming back, and a lot of people thought that her character was going to be killed off this season, and wasn't. So maybe she kind of knew a little bit that her time there was mostly with the Disney aspect of things was short-lived. Because I do know that a lot of the directors, Bryce Dallas Howard, Jon Favreau, Peyton Reed, Taika Waititi, they adore her as far as I know. Like I don't think any of them. I think all of them would work with her again on a non-Disney related project in the future.
Well, probably not now. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, like right now, the way the environment is, probably not going to happen anytime soon. But
sadly,
in private conversation with them, I'm pretty sure they would be very supportive of each other because why not? No one's ever made a complaint with her performance or her attitude on any production that I know of, and that's a good. That means you have a good reputation.
Yeah. So then it goes on and says, look, 2 months later, the deal for her spin-off is dead, as is her relationship with Lucasfilm and UTA, both of whom dropped her after she shared a post suggesting that being a Republican today, I know they've got it right, was akin to being Jewish in the time leading up to the Holocaust. They finally got it right.
Well, aside from the Republican part,
right.
So it was technically having a different political view was akin, but because she never said Republican. But
I know, but
they're inferring.
I'm more amazed that they finally got it right, that it wasn't comparing it directly to the Holocaust, because that's what people keep saying time and time again, and that's not what was said.
No,
it's not what it was. It was the slippery slope that led to it. It was the turning of the tide. It was dehumanizing people in the general populace's eyes. It was all of that led to it.
Yeah, it was a key. It was one of many key steps that culminated in such a horrible.
Absolutely abhorrent. It's just amazing that they finally actually got that right. Christ. Disney declined comment beyond Lucasfilm's initial statement describing Carano's post as abhorrent and unacceptable. But why? Like, I'm still amazed with this. Like, because I did a stream of Midnight. Were you on that stream with Uche on Midnight Sage or not?
No. I
No.
came in much later. That really epic one.
Yeah.
I was in a meeting most of that day, but I came in right after.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was having so he Uche's some I don't even know who he is, so like some NFL player, former or current, I don't bloody know.
He was a former NFL offensive. I think it's an offensive lineman. I think. I follow the CFL, so let's that's
I don't follow any of that. I don't care. He could be well, he's effectively a nobody to me. I don't know who he is. I don't care. But anyway, he dropped on and was basically saying, "We just can't talk about it." And I was like, "Why can't you?" He was like, "Well, because you just can't." I'm like, "Well, then you're part of the problem. You're telling me that I can't talk about it because I can't talk about it because I can't talk." It's this cyclical argument. It's never ending. It's constantly answering itself with the same answer that doesn't actually answer itself. I was like, that's a terrible answer. Like, who's the arbiter? Who decides what we can and can't talk about? You believe it's right for her to be fired simply because you don't want to talk about it? Well, you don't talk about it then. If you feel it's off topic, you don't talk about it. But don't be the arbiter of someone else talking about it. And this is the same kind of vibe I get from Disney here. Oh, it's abhorrent and unacceptable. Why? What,
Well, it's a misunderstanding of the fact that like legally speaking, she wasn't at the time an employee of Lucasfilm or Disney when she was making.
That's the thing as well, isn't it? Yeah.
But I understand the perspective on the corporate side of things, where if you are a prominent figure within a company and publicly known, associated with that company, then you have to be careful with what subjects you espouse on social media.
Of course.
Which, I mean, everybody understands that. But
yes.
You're also true, like, it's the because why, or it's the because I said so parent excuse for some of the things, like when you can't talk about something like the Holocaust. Something I mean, it's part of our history. It's a tragic part of our history. It's good to know how we
talk about it here in the UK. Let's put it that way. It's not taboo here in the UK. If you want to talk about it, you can talk about it. Like it's taught in schools. We talk about it. So I don't understand why it's such a sensitive topic for you guys. Well, not for you, but for guys in the States. I just don't get it. I don't get it. For a country that's pro free speech, the UK doesn't even have free speech fucking laws, right? We don't have it. We don't have freedom of speech in the UK, not specifically. But yet we can talk about it. And you guys in the States that claim freedom of speech.
Well, I mean, there might also be a little bit of an embarrassing act of it too, because the United States did get into the war 2 years later than the rest of the world.
Yeah, maybe. Well, who knows?
I mean, there's a whole slew of political reasons. Because I had family in the United States at that time. Before they told me before they passed that, they really wanted to, participate in stopping this atrocity, because they came from countries that were being invaded by them. And in Canada, we I mean, at least for myself, I learned extensively that period of time of the Holocaust, as well as what followed with communist Russia and Mao's China and all that stuff. And it was terrifying and fascinating at the same time, and tragic and whatnot. And I mean, in Canada, we have a form of freedom of expression, but and it applies to a lot of stuff. But again, we also have some very misguided politicians that have been trying to usurp that over the last few years. And the other part too is that some of the people that are in judges in our courts are kind of leaning on the side of those politicians, which is very troubling, and it should be, because the freedom of expression not only applied to ourselves for speech, but applied to those who, if you wanted to do abstractly, cannot speak, and also applies for self-defense. It allows us to defend ourselves through our expression, whether it be physical or silent or verbal. And it was, I mean, it's why the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms that we enacted in 1982 after the British North America Act has been used as a model, along with the American Constitution, for other countries to help with the people's rights. There's a reason. There's great things in all of those documents. And so, I mean, when you have people that don't really represent their constituents trying to argue against that, that's when you have problems. And if you have that also in the private sector as well, that's going to work its way into the public opinion, and that's not very responsible, in my opinion.
No, it's not. It's not good at all. Got to get to some super chats real quick, actually. Sorry.
No
Big Out Games for £5 says, "Hey, Mr. H, bit off topic, but what are your thoughts on Trevor Henderson and his monsters? If you've ever heard of him, His stuff is basically the new SCP. I've never heard of him, so I will have to Google that. If you want to send me a link to something specific that you want me to have a look at, email it to me, mistakesreviews@gmail.com. I'm always keen to look at stuff. So yeah. Michael Von Doom says, someone probably overstepped at StarWars.com with the statement, Lucasfilm would look worse to Twitter if they tried to clean that up. Which statement? The abhorrent and unacceptable?
Maybe that one. I mean...
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But they've put their foot in it now, haven't they? Because that's what they're doing. That's the quote. That is the quote. Oh, they described it as this. Comrade Commissar Yuri, was it not also abhorrent for Disney to think that Chinese, to thank that Chinese internment camp? Yeah. Well, I mean, in any
internment camp that you think is abhorrent. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in any sane part of the world, we would think that, wouldn't we? But some people don't believe so. No, they think that that's absolutely fine. Because they're powerful. Funnily enough, there's a discussion which was all happened, all around the UK news this morning, was all about Princess Latifah, the Dubai princess that's been essentially kidnapped and held hostage as a prisoner by her father, one of the most powerful men in the world. Was it the Crown Prince, the king or whatever it is, Crown Prince of Dubai?
I think it's I think it's the Crown Prince of Dubai. Yeah,
and we don't condemn them for human rights atrocities and women abuses all across the world. We don't condemn them in the Western world for that. Why? Because they've got money and power. And that's why, and they keep investing. It's the same as the Chinese. It's taken so bloody long for anyone to condemn the Chinese for anything, and yet, like people on the internet have been saying it for years. Like, what are you doing?
Like, Chinese citizens have been saying it for years. It's like Canada has a very large Chinese immigrant population, which is awesome because they came here or to the United States because it's like, yeah, China's not China. Yeah. Like that's what they basically tell me.
It's the same as the UK with Hong Kong. We've offered, basically to all the people of Hong Kong, please come and live here. Please get away from that crap.
Yeah, up until 1997, they were, yeah. I remember that changeover. That was a big event.
Yeah. Well, we fudged that out, didn't we, really? George Forrest Jr. says, I believe that America is still ashamed that we had camps for Japanese citizens during World War II. I mean, look, I can't comment on that. It's not something I'm particularly... I'm not hugely clued up on the way people would sort of... what the public opinion is on something like that. But yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to your opinion if that's what you think. Yeah, absolutely sure. That's not me dismissing you, by the way. FYI. But anyway, get back into the article. So still, Disney's decision to show Carano the door has prompted cries from the right. So this is a really simpleton tactic of these articles, is that they're stating it as, oh yeah, it's just the right. There's no other statement of anyone else there. It's just the right is the ones concerned.
Very abstract type.
But it's not, though, is it? Like it's
specific and abstract at the same. Yeah.
There's lots of people, and obviously they state people that definitely did have a problem with it. Senator Ted Cruz, Ben Shapiro, but it's not just them. Like there's loads of people that have an issue with it. So that's a really disingenuous statement. And this goes into this kind of smearing. I mean, this whole article is a smear piece. And anyway, so the studio acts when the left is upset. So obviously, that's the cries, blah, blah, blah. Paired with events in 2018 when then ABC president Channing Dungey. Is that their name?
Yeah, that's Channing Dungey, yeah.
That's an interesting name. Called out as abhorrent a tweet from Trump supporter Barr that likened Obama administration Alan Valerie Jarrett to a primate. Such claims have publicists advising clients to steer clear of politics, especially anything leaning right. What about anything leaning left? I mean, look, people shouldn't talk politics anyway. Like I've said that. And this discussion here about Gina is not about whether she was right. I've said, and I've said it many times, is that the precedent for her being able to say what she said was set by her colleague, Pedro Pascal, right? Who runs his mouth calling everyone a bloody Nazi nonstop, right? So the precedent has been set, but Disney chose to do nothing to Pedro Pascal. So you can understand why someone would believe that they're in their right to say something like that when a colleague has said something to a similar effect, but on a different leaning anyway. But I don't think anyone should spout politics anywhere along the line, because you do risk, obviously, alienating potentially half your audience, or thereabouts half your audience. Always. It's partisan. It's not smart. It's never smart to do.
Yeah, heck, I remember in the time, especially when I first visited Hollywood, when there was some campaigning going on, and the studio I worked for says we're not going to pick sides. And it was a small studio. It's like we just don't. And I remember even small businesses and even larger corporations saying it's irresponsible for us to pick a political side because we do not want to negatively impact our customers or audience that's of a different political value. So we remain neutral, and there's value to that, and especially in an open market type of world. It's like, politics, we don't care about your politics. We just want to make sure we satisfy your needs with goods and services.
But now it's literally just support the left. Don't talk about the right, but constantly talk about the left. That's fine. That's been seen now as the sort of non-partisan stance to have, isn't it?
Yeah, which is quite silly. The non-partisan stance is to support the left.
That seems to be what it is. You know, it only seems to be partisan if you come out and say anything to remotely right-leaning, which they say here. Essentially, especially anything right-leaning or leaning right. It's like, for God's sake, what a pathetic thing to say. So anyway, there is a PR rep here that says, I don't know what people at Disney personally believe or don't believe with regards to politics. But as a corporate entity, they want to stay as trouble-free as possible. And anything that's going to offend the left is a problem. So are they just... Is this crisis PR rep Judah Engelmeyer, is that them literally just saying that the left are snowflakes right here?
Not only that, it's saying that only the left is acceptable.
Well, only the left is the acceptable group not to offend.
Yes.
We must appease the left. What the fuck?
Totally.
World, ladies and gents.
That is really bad.
And anything that's going to offend the left is a problem.
Yeah.
And then they follow. Oh my God, they follow it up. I have clients who are making an extraordinary effort to post what the social left wants to see.
Well, I mean, it's blatantly admitting to propaganda, which is, again, frightening.
And virtue signaling.
And virtue signaling. And also, I mean, there is a quote. I've heard it used in different contexts and whatnot, but it's basically saying, like, pay attention to those who you can't offend to see who really holds the power. Like, so whoever you can offend doesn't have any power, but whoever you can't does, so to speak. And it's like they're basically saying right now the left has all the power when it comes to our industry, therefore we cannot criticize their actions.
That is awful, isn't it?
That's frightening.
I can't believe they printed this. It's like that. Is it the Times or the New York Times piece where they basically say there was
a
a
fortified election thing?
Yeah. It's the same principle. It's the same principle as that. The mask is off. They just don't care. They're like, yeah, no, we can't offend the left, and we need to keep posting stuff that the left wants to see. Why?
It's feeding a beast, essentially.
This goes into my this is my own acronym for these dickheads is a PAG. This is the Participation Award Generation. And this statement here perfectly exemplifies that. We can't offend the left, and we must keep posting stuff that they want to see. Why?
Yeah. It's bad parenting 101. Do anything to prevent your child from crying.
Yeah. Give them a fucking medal for turning up. It's a joke.
I remember when sarcastically you'd show up for something you didn't want to do, and you're like, why am I here? It's like, what, do you want a medal for showing up? And it's like, no, I just don't want to be here. But now it's actually become literal, where you get a medal for showing up.
Yeah. I honestly cannot believe they printed that.
Neither can I. I can't believe a public relations employee,
Crisis PR rep. Crisis.
Yeah, would do that, because I mean, I have family and friends that work in private industry, and they have PR firms, and none of them ever would say something so so like this would bite them in the butt. Come a few years, if the world returns a little bit more to normality. Like,
exactly.
This would hurt them greatly. Like they could not spin that at the time, other than saying like we were held hostage at gunpoint when they made that statement.
I'm literally speechless. I genuinely don't know what to say. It's absolutely unreal. It's unbelievable that was printed, stated, and then printed. So that got approved by an editor, right? They interviewed this person. You know, hey, do you want to pass comment on this? Yeah, no worries. Oh, yeah, here's my. Oh, yeah, that's fine. We'll print that. Then they give it to the editor. They're like, yeah, fine, we'll print that. It's gone through like three people have assessed the risk on that and said it's fine. 1, the person saying it. 2, the person writing it. 3, the editor.
Yep, and I would I can believe an editor saying, "Oh, this is a juicy comment. We have to put it in there." Like an old school editor would totally say, "Yeah, we're putting that in there because that needs to be revealed to the public."
You'd think that they would actually start with that at the top, wouldn't you? Right?
Yeah, I think they would frame the whole article about that. We can't piss off the left. Crisis public relations employee.
That's unreal. That is absolutely unreal. Unbelievable. Got a quick super chat here from T-Man70. Thank you so much, dude. Keeping the lights on for that $10. Thank you. It's all, funnily enough, actually, literally keeping the lights on here because my bulbs blew earlier when I was recording my Doom Eternal playthrough. It was a real pain in the ass. Because I can't leave the house to go and get. We were on lockdown in the UK, so I couldn't leave to go and get. I had to order some. Side note. It's all about the success of The Mandalorian. They went after Pedro first, but he virtue signaled, then Grogu eating eggs, but he was too cute. Carano stood her ground, so she is the perfect target. Well, you raise an interesting point. Yeah, they did go after a bunch of people, didn't they, actually?
Yep. Well, like Pedro has a couple of things. Here's the other part, too, that's kind of been baffling is, and I've known this for a while, is that Hollywood has always been trying to figure out, like, how could they never lose a show? How could they never lose a job? Like, what's the secret formula to maintaining your employment? And it used to be like quality work, but now they found it through, well, we just claim discrimination for immutable differences or behavior. And Pedro Pascal, I mean, he's a person that people argue is ethnic. He has a relative that is of a minority, and he also toes the agenda line with regards to what is acceptable within Hollywood. And then you have Grogu, which is a puppet, so it's kind of hard to cancel that. So when Gina Carano does things that are, I would argue, objectively inoffensive and compassionate, and asking questions and trying to allow people an open discourse to remove doubt from certain situations, I don't see anything wrong with that. So
it's people not sort of kowtowing to the mob. I mean, even Letitia Wright apologized. I think I'm pretty certain she ended up apologizing.
And even Gina Carano, she made a couple of tweets saying that she doesn't believe bullying, and she's supportive of people in all sorts of communities. Those were her words, and I think this article, or at least another article, I think said that she was given a pre-written statement that she didn't want to use because, and we don't know why, but we could probably assume it had a big portion that admitted guilt or wrongdoing.
Yeah, of course it would be. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It would all be a case of, I am to blame here, soz, basically.
Yeah.
And so they even state that a little bit. So Black Panther star Letitia writes, December tweets, which amplified a UK minister's video that questioned the safety of the novel coronavirus vaccine and disparaged trans people, also garnered criticism. What UK minister are they talking about? I'm here. I don't know what the fuck they're on about.
I don't know either.
Anyone in the States, disregard this part of the article. I don't know what the fuck they're on about. As did an August 2019 social media post from Mulan star Leo, who offered support of Hong Kong police during the government's crackdown on pro-democracy protests. Yeah, but they didn't make her apologize.
Nope, that was during the ACAB time period in the US, I think.
Mm. Yeah, she didn't apologize at all. Nothing. It's amazing as well, Lou, who offered support of Hong Kong police during the government's crackdown. I'm surprised they even left pro-democracy in there, because obviously that's not a bad thing, is it? Well, we're protesting because we're pro-democracy.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that they left that in there. I thought they would have just gone with protests, but never mind. So anyway, sources say neither actress was talked to by Disney, which opted to let both matters blow over. Why? Letitia Wright deleted her Twitter account, and Lou steered away from the subject in the months leading up to Mulan's release. Pretty sure Lou did say another thing about it as well. I'm pretty sure she followed it up with something else and then quieted down. I'm pretty sure she doubled down on it. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, guys.
Yeah, I can't remember, unfortunately.
But that's fine, is it? Like, openly admitting biased treatment. Sources say neither actress was talked to. So why did you talk? What? Like, why though? Why did you talk to Gina Carano?
Maybe it has to do with the fact that Gina Carano is not ethnically diverse compared to those other two.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Politics, however, seemed to play a role in Disney's move to sever ties with Gunn in 2018 after right-wing personalities resurfaced offensive, nearly decade-old tweets. They included such eyebrow-raising jokes as, I like when... I'm not going to repeat it. It's not funny. We all know what he was saying. And then Gunn obviously apologized, stating to Twitter, many people who have followed my career, blah, blah, blah. We know all of this. And then obviously Disney just rehired him back. And his career is now untouchable. He's back on, he's with DC at the moment as well as with Marvel. So he's untouchable now. And again, I'm not saying one's good or bad. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy here. Like, there's blatant hypocrisy.
Well, not only that, it was Alan Horn that pulled the trigger on that before even consulting anyone. So,
and he openly admitted to it as well.
Yeah, that was a big gaffe on Disney's part, or at least on his part through Disney, because not only did it delay Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it also kind of affected and impacted Endgame as well, because they had to he was not allowed near the production as it was going on after that moment, and he was helping out a lot.
Absolutely ridiculous. And so it goes on to say the decision to banish Carano from the Disney Kingdom went higher than Mandalorian creator Jon Favreau and was made by Lucasfilm executives. So that's Kathleen Kennedy.
And her team, or someone in her team through her, yeah.
Yeah. That's the only person it possibly can be. Which leads me to think, like, how pissed is Jon Favreau about this? Like, he must not be impressed.
Well, he was already a little bit disappointed that he has to wait another year before he can get back into season 3 production of Mandalorian. And on top of that, I mean, that's one of his characters he wrote that he can't use again because the actress is gone, and he's not going to be the type that wants to recast.
Nope.
Because he's already had issues with regards to, like, losing Terrence Howard in the Iron Man franchise. And on top of that, it's like, it's kind of like, well, it's a form of ghosting. It's a form of Hollywood ghosting because she wasn't really fired. Like I'm going to say this again. Her contract was for those was season by season essentially,
Yeah.
and she's in between contracts right now. So basically, what they do, and they do this in Hollywood a lot, is they just say, "Don't call us, we'll call you," and it's a form of ghosting. You just don't hear from them again. You reach out, you say, "Hey, what's going on?" And you leave a message with a secretary or something, and they never get back to you. And that's usually the sign that you're not coming back. You're not technically fired, but you're not coming back. And basically, someone up high up, probably Kathleen Kennedy, or at least someone very close to her, said, "Hey, we don't need her back, so we're not going to bring her back. And we've got this. We see this thing on social media saying that they want her fired. So, problem solved."
Yeah, true. Now, they say Carano, sources say, so sources, not Lucasfilm, they're not saying it's Lucasfilm at this point, just sources, had repeatedly been warned by those around her about her social media behavior. Now, so that's interesting. They're not saying warned by Lucasfilm, it's just saying by people around her.
Like friends, family, colleagues, perhaps, yeah.
It's pretty open-ended. With the actress even noting publicly in September that her Mandalorian co-star Pedro Pascal, who has a trans sibling, educated her about the use of pronouns after a social media flare-up. That was in her apology, basically, wasn't it? Not her apology.
That was in her defense of people, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not her saying, "Oh yeah, no, definitely people are telling me that I need to sort myself out." Like, I again don't see the issue there. She knew it was going to alarm people, says one person in her orbit. Says one person in her orbit of recent posts. What the fuck does that mean? She knew it was going to alarm people, says one person in her orbit of her recent posts. That's terrible writing. Isn't it?
It's, yeah.
What are they trying to say? Someone that's familiar with her or her posts?
That's a good question. Yeah. Is it someone who follows her intently on Twitter and has quick responses to everything she posts, or is it someone who is close to her who is talking about her recent posts? Like, it's the grammar's off.
Right. Anyway. Anyway, and then that person that is in the orbit of something says, "Why would you put Favreau in that position?" Well, she didn't, because it was, as confirmed anyway, it was above.
It was above him anyways, yeah. So, he was robbed of the choice.
Yeah. So literally wasn't put in that position at all. So again, pointless to even print that. Again, goes back to the smear campaign here. Carano's ouster had a domino effect, with Hasbro ending production on its popular Cara Dune action figures. They have actually come out and said now that they weren't going to make them because they're past the production or something like that. I can't remember.
They finished all their normal orders, and I guess my understanding is that Disney kind of has an escape clause. They can pull the license for any of their characters from Hasbro for whatever reason they deem fit. And I think that's what happened here. They just pulled the license, and Hasbro's like, "Well, we're still making Star Wars toys, just can't make that one."
So, but the interesting part is Amazon appears to have pulled most of its Cara Dune toy merchandise, and they won't comment on it.
Yeah,
that is a vindictive action from Disney at that point, unless they're selling stock which can't be fulfilled because Hasbro has now ceased production. But you would have thought that they'd have stock. Amazon has warehouses full of it.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have a lot, unless. Yeah, like I don't know, because I ordered some stuff through them, and then I got the letter. Here's your refund. Stock's not available, and production has ceased on new orders. So,
but that does, to me, that doesn't make sense, because Amazon always has huge bucket loads of this stuff, huge product, all in the warehouses, right? That is Amazon. That's what Amazon does.
Yeah, they stockpile, absolutely.
And for them to say, well, we don't, they just say it otherwise. They just go, yeah, well, we ran out. and they're not making any more. So that's why. But they're not saying anything. Decline further comment. So that implies that something is vindictive happening there, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like some backroom dealings, so to speak.
Meanwhile, the June action figures are seeing brisk sales on eBay at prices well above their original list prices. That's quite funny, isn't it? To be honest, people making bank off Cara June on eBay. I love that. Entrepreneurial.
I think people are paying their rent by selling Cara Dune figures. Because someone tweeted a $900 bidding war over one. So
fuck me. $900. That's insane. Again, more for them. Great.
Yeah.
Silver Nova drops in 10 Aussie dollars. Cheers, Mr. H. I was in Australia once. I lived in Australia. Well, I didn't sort of live there and worked there for a bit between my work in the States. Interesting place. I'm just an old Aussie surfer who wants good quality entertainment. The blatant double standard in Hollywood and the media has astonished me in recent years. That's the thing. I think there's a lot of people, right? Like, especially on my channel, the majority of people are really centrist. They are like you. They just want good entertainment. And then they look at something like this, and they're not right wing, but they just see the double standard. And they're like, well, what are you doing, you idiots? Like, this is so blatant now. So, yeah, I agree. Like, hey, I'm as astonished as you are, my dude. Like, absolutely astonished. It's staggering. It is a double standard. It really is. So insiders say Cara Dune wasn't part of the Star Wars series Next Up, a Boba Fett spin-off, but expect that the character will be recast down the road for both story and merchandising reasons. However, again, someone else, an actual source at Lucasfilm, so this is just insiders, but then a source at Lucasfilm says that recasting is not expected. However,
this is padding. They're just saying like, oh, we're just got to expand on this. Like, oh, could they be recast?
SEO, isn't it? They're trying to get SEO. It's like, oh, Cara Dune recast. I will chuck that in the article. Why not?
Yeah.
Super dumb. Super dumb.
Trying to hit their word count.
Yeah, true. Yeah, get that editorial.
And they got to split it 3 ways too. That's even worse.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, from all these 3 people. For her part, Carano will be producing a film with Shapiro's Daily Wire. And I love this statement. It was very, very professional. I'm sending out a direct message of hope to anyone living in fear of cancellation by the totalitarian mob. I've only just begun using my voice, which is now freer than ever before, and I hope it inspires others to do the same. But interesting, they didn't include the last bit there. You cannot cancel us if we don't let them. Why didn't they include that?
Oh, that's counter narrative right there.
Bit odd, isn't it? Bit odd. Carano's firing comes at an inflection point for Disney, which was previously criticized for not more strongly defending Star Wars sequel trilogy stars John Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran from racist bullying online over the years. Was John Boyega affected with bullying? Racist bullying? I don't think he was.
I don't recall that. I remember
mean, the only racism came from Disney wiping him from the posters.
Primarily from Disney on the posters. I remember there was a small issue with Boyega dressed as a stormtrooper, but that was like a blip compared overall, because once we got more of that, and then once we actually saw the film, a lot of people, myself included, I thought John Boyega and his character was the only good part of that movie.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is.
They're outing themselves. They're like, oh, well, criticism. Boyega had to deal with some pretty big racism there. A bit of bullying. It's like, you're from Disney.
Yeah.
Removing him from posters. And the same with Kelly Marie Tran.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then we go to the real double standard stuff here, guys. On January 23rd, the company signaled a shift when it put out a statement of support for Christina Ariel, the host of the High Republic show, after she was subjected to racist bullying and threats. No, she was racist on Twitter.
Yes.
She was racist on Twitter. It's not subjective, it's objective fact. And people were like, hold up, you bitch, what are you talking about, love?
Oh yeah, she got way more non-racist questions of her actions on that than she did
Yeah,
racist replies. And let's not skirt the issue there. She did get some racist replies,
of
but the
course.
vast majority, of course, is like, you should not be saying such
Yeah,
denigrating things to any race or culture or gender.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah. Disgusting. And she is a disgusting piece of crap. She's a horrible, horrible, horrible human being. She shows no signs of slowing down her rhetoric that she keeps pushing out there. It's horrible. It's really, really horrible stuff. But yeah, Disney's fine with that. Industry observers note that for companies such as Lucasfilm, taking a stance against offensive behavior sends a signal to both employees and fans from marginalized backgrounds that they are valued. Hold on. We've got a statement up here saying that they just want to please the left. So
yep.
what's going on with that? Because they don't care about the right. What?
No, that's a good question because, well, I mean, the other part too that I found kind of interesting with Disney and then people, especially in some of the news media, is that they don't pay attention to the words they said, a minute ago. Like it happens in their press releases, it happens in their articles, it even happens in some of their episodes of television.
Yeah. Yeah. It just blows my mind. Blows my mind. Now, they got some author to say this. I don't understand why. You need an inclusive and working tone set from the top, says Andre Carrington, author of Speculative Blackness, The Future of Race in Science Fiction, an associate professor of English at the University of California, Riverside.
None of those credentials are something to brag about. Sorry.
I mean, that's just like saying I'm a professor of yeah.
I mean, a professor of what, like Arizona State?
It's just like race theory, isn't it? Like that's not a real profession.
Yeah.
It's not a profession.
No, it's not. Like,
you're a professional racist if you're a professor of race theory. You're a professional racist. We've got one in the UK called Kahindi Andrews. He is the most abhorrent, disgraceful human being that is allowed in current day, that is allowed on TV in the UK. He just sits there and spouts racist rhetoric non-stop. Literally non-stop. Kahindi Andrews. If you want to have a look at anyone, guys, YouTube Kahindi Andrews racist or whatever. He's a horrible human being. Awful, like really, really awful. Awful guy. And he's got like tenure at a university in the UK. Part of my tax pays for him.
No, I hate tenure. I think that never should have been a thing. But also, I mean, for this author of the University of California Riverside stuff,
of Speculative Blackness.
Speculative Blackness. Well, guess what? I was a college professor of English and for film and television at the age of 21, and I had to go through a rigorous vetting process for that. So I don't think this guy earned his professor title that young. And mine was really hard. And I was one of the few who got that without having earned a doctorate, and I still can't afford to pay for a doctorate right now. But yeah, even I would say, you're as an English major and graduate, most importantly, that's one thing to pay note. If people profess they're a major but not a graduate, that's telling. He's full of crap. I'm not going to be elegant about a way to put it any more elegantly. That he's full of crap, and his quote is as useful as an asshole on your elbow.
Marshmallow asks, "What is a tenure?" It's basically like
permanent job security.
Yeah, you just can't be gotten rid of. That's it. You're there to stay. You become furniture.
Essentially, there might be one or two cases where someone who had tenure was ejected, but I think they did some pretty horrible things to do that, and it required a lot of legal battles. But yeah, tenure is not a very good thing in academia. because it allows academia to be perverted by a person who may have dubious intentions, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because they're no longer accountable for their actions, and they're not really
But
teaching. Yeah.
yeah, and also you become lazy as well. Just there's so many arguments against this. It's
You
absolutely
end up getting taught by the teacher's assistant who's making nothing a week,
yeah,
and the
yeah.
professor's off on a so-called sabbatical doing who knows what.
Jack says, anyone followed the amazing Lucas controversial take on this whole thing? He's a conservative YouTuber that had a hefty debate with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers at Echo Based Network live stream. I know I've not seen that. What is his take, Jack? Do you know what his take is?
No, I haven't checked that out yet. I'm subscribed to the Echo Based Network. They're a cool bunch of guys. I actually was just talking with Nick on Midnight's Edge earlier today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. I'll have to queue that up.
So anyway, one manager who has outspoken clients and has dealt with elements of cancel culture is advising vocal clients to cool it down politically. If you're too far on both sides, it hurts you. Except we know that that's not the case, because they've had the earlier quote up here saying, I have clients who are making an extraordinary effort to post what the social left wants to see, and anything that's going to offend the left is a problem. So no, again, the closing statement is completely wrong. We already know that that's not what they're trying to do. Yes, this manager may say it to his clients. If you're too far on both sides, it hurts you. But it doesn't in reality, does it? Like it genuinely doesn't.
No.
Like, where has it hurt? Can anyone give me like an actual example of actually hurting anyone on the left? Because I don't think it has. I don't think speaking out about any of this stuff has actually hurt anyone. People can literally sit there and post, I don't know, socialist rhetoric, communist rhetoric, Marxist rhetoric, and it's fine. It's okay. No issues. Don't you worry about it. I mean, it's pretty far left, to be fair.
Yeah,
pretty far left ideology. You've got statements in the UK now saying that Britain must be decolonized. Fucking newsflash, moron. We were never colonized. We were the colonizers. You can't decolonize somewhere that wasn't a colony. You fucking idiot. If you're decolonizing Britain, you are colonizing Britain. Fuck.
Well, if anything, it's the Romans kind of colonized the UK, and there's also already people there. It's just silly. And unfortunately, here's the thing: colonization is a part of growth with regards to species. Like even animals move from one area to another. That's a form of colonization. Sometimes there's other people there or other creatures there that are displaced as a result of such action. Sometimes there's not, and it's just a form of hybrid environment. But yeah, you can't make a blanket statement of that. History is very, very.
That is literally what they're trying to do in the UK now. They're trying to teach decolonized education as well.
So what? Like,
what is that?
What
is that? Are they making this stuff up now?
What are they going to do? Talk about the story is how the river Avon, when properly translated, just transfers the river. I don't understand. Like, how far back are they going to go?
Mate, honestly, your guess is as good as mine. These plebs, these idiots, these morons, these imbeciles, these radical leftist ideologues are far beyond my understanding. Like, I just deal with common sense. I can't understand these idiots. I don't understand. And I don't understand as well why anyone takes any of them seriously. Like, if someone says that stuff to you in broad daylight, I just laugh in their face. I'm like, what are you on about, mate? You sound like a twat. Like, are you on a release or something? Fuck off.
I mean, if you've lived in the UK, and I have for quite some time, a few years, you can take a look at Britain's history and be like, yeah, I can understand why they wanted to colonize somewhere else. The weather here's terrible. It's just let's go somewhere better. It just doesn't. I mean, someone went to Canada, which arguably is worse weather, but it's more space. But yeah, it's just I don't get why. I don't get the point of view for that.
So weird.
I actually cannot. I cannot understand, and I'm willing to hear an argument for why that education would be considered valuable.
Oh, there is no a university. Side note, everyone. A university tried to implement it, and they were doing it under the guise of basically they had to fire a bunch of people because they weren't getting the funds and stuff like that. But then they started to announce that they were doing all this other thing, and then the education minister was like, "This is ridiculous. What are you doing? I'm not going to." But basically, they're now writing into law that British universities, because they're far overrun and run by predominantly left-leaning sort of political workers and professionals there. So they're now writing into law that any university that doesn't actually allow free speech can be fined vast sums of money because they have deplatformed many people that were going to be speaking at universities and doing so many different things. And they fired university professors for speaking out, and not even speaking out, just offering a debate about something. They've gone, "Oh, you can't do that." And the response from these unions have been hilarious. They're like, "That's totalitarian." Why is it totalitarian? By saying that you can have free speech? Yeah, you're trying to control speech by writing into law that you can say what you want. Right. Yeah, no, that's not how that works. Mental gymnastics, mate. Honestly, it's clown world. It's really...
Well, yeah, it's asking for free speech as opposed to compelled speech, because compelled speech is controlled speech.
Yeah, but that's what they want. That's what they want. And because they can no longer have that, as they've been deplatforming speakers and debaters and professors and whatever, they're now saying that the government's totalitarian. It's like, no, we're not. The government's not trying to control speech. They're trying to allow you to have speech. Keep
it liberated. Yeah, keep it free. Yeah, it's
ridiculous. John Harrison for £5 says you should decolonize the whole world. By that logic, how idiotic do you have to be? Yeah, it is idiotic. But again, clown world is the UK is pretty big on this clown world nonsense at the moment. Like I say, decolonize Britain. Fuck off. Unreal.
Well, I mean, yeah. What is it? There's a scientific study that suggested that humanity became humanity because of a meteorite that struck the Earth with certain parts of DNA that we adopted and allowed us to become what we are. So basically, we have to find where that meteor came from and go back to that planet.
Oh, we're colonizers. Otherwise, that's no. You're completely right. I get that logic. I get it. Anyway,
how back does it go to the Big Bang? We have to go back to the center of the universe.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a long journey. Hopefully, everyone will die on the way.
Yeah.
And then obviously they did their update. I love this. So they did their update at the end. So at February 16th, 5:47 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, updated to add the Lucasfilm source saying that Gina Carano would not be recast. It's like, so why didn't you just remove the fact that she was not? Why didn't you remove the part that she was not going to be? That she was being cast, especially if you've gone to the effort of adding something and then doing a footnote at the end saying, "Oh, yeah, done a correction now." Like they know what they're doing. It's just a smear piece. This whole thing is just a smear piece. Ridiculous. So there you go. What are your overall thoughts of that then? Script.
It's worth as much as the paper it's printed on, and it's digital. So yeah, that's pretty much how I view it. I mean, a lot of cherry picking information, manipulation of information, bringing in examples that actually disprove the statement they're making. This would be considered satire like 50 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, you are right. What a joke.
Yeah.
What an absolute joke. Honestly, it is, like I keep saying it, clown world. Like it really is clown world. And again, I'm not saying that she had the right to say what she was saying. I'm well aware that these people would have signed conduct contracts and things like that. I think the best thing to say here is that the precedent had been set by co-stars.
Yeah.
So so this is a blatant double standard. That's the point. I think that You know, I understand that some people are saying, well, she should be able to say whatever she wants. I understand the argument, but if you've signed a contract, you've agreed to not doing it.
Yeah.
But equally so, her co-stars have done numerous things, and they were fine. So the precedent was set, surely.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, she felt like she had permission to do so because someone with a bit more status in the show that she works on was doing something far more egregious.
Mm. Yeah, but again, but look, as they've even said in the article, we've got to keep pleasing the left.
Yeah.
I cannot believe they said that. I can't.
Well,
I can't.
it's going to be a meme. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah. Surely, you know, fucking Hollywood Reporter admits the snowflakes on the left or some crap like that. I bloody know. Marshmallow says, I'm big on Stoic philosophy, and as a result, I learnt a bit about the Roman Empire and have come to admire exceptional people such as Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, Stoic philosophy. Yeah, it's not a bad way to live your life.
Aurelius, Thomas Aquinas. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Lots of great thinkers in those times, and thankfully, Italy has very, very detailed records of those periods still preserved.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Well, no, Italy's pretty based on stuff like this. They probably won't ever get rid of it. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not. Anyway.
Hope not. Yeah.
T-Man70 says, according to the Hitchhiker's Guide, the Earth was colonized by idiots that crashed here. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Hitchhiker's Guide is the best. Weaponized autism. Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, that about sums it up, really. I thought I'd just go through this, get you guys to sort of come through it with me in this sort of journey that we've been on with this sort of Star Wars nonsense with Gina Carano. And then obviously we've got our fantastic guest today, Script Doctor. Do you want to let everyone know who you are, what you do, what you've got going on?
Sure. So I am the Script Doctor. I'm a script doctor of film and television, as well as a writer in Hollywood. I'm currently stuck in Canada due to the pandemic. You can follow me on Twitter at Script Doctor PhD, and I have a YouTube channel where I do breakdown and analyses of television shows and movies. And if you check out the channel and like what you hear and see, please feel free to give me a subscribe, and I will be putting out more content.
Yes, yeah, please do. Don't just subscribe willy-nilly. Like, go see if the content's good, then subscribe. It hurts the channel if you just subscribe to channels, you know, regardless. And I will leave Script Doctor's YouTube channel down below in the description box. The description box. It's not there yet because I didn't know who was going to be appearing as a guest on this live stream. I sent out a few invites. So yeah, I think that about sums it up, guys. Please do go ahead and follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. H Reviews. I'm going to be a little bit more active on both of those platforms. I was very active on Twitter today, and I was semi-active on Instagram, but I will be active on those platforms. So please do go and follow me there. If you want to support the channel further, you can become a member. We've got a good few members here tonight. You get good badges next to your names, and you get some benefits that no one else has. Or you can support me via Patreon. But, ladies and gents, thanks so much. And if you're watching this back, because this one will be up on the channel, thanks so much for watching. If you stayed this far, you better thumbs up the video, because fucking hell, we're like 2 hours in. So, yeah. But thank you so much. Thank you to Script, and thank you to everyone watching. Cheers.